While we're here, let's take a spin around the interface. If you're like me, the interface is your old friend. I've been working in Photoshop for 20 plus years. I hate to admit that, but I have. I've watched the interface change, evolve, grow. It's an old friend. And for many of you, that might be exactly the same thing you would say. It's your old friend. But not everybody has this program as an old friend. And so let's make sure we're all on the same page. So a quick spin. Pull-down menus are at the top. All programs have pull-down menus. Photoshop has a lot of things here. We're talking about literally hundreds and hundreds of items underneath these menus. If I were to spend 5 minutes on every one of the items to give you an idea what they did, we'd be here for 8 hours easy, just talking about pull-down menus. Over here to the right, this stuff right here basically is part of my operating system, so that has nothing to do with Photoshop. It's from here over this way. The next bar down contains really cool information on Photoshop. For example, you've got your bridge button, your mini bridge. I love that mini bridge. This button right here allows you to like show your rulers if you want to do that. We can turn those back off again. This button, of course, is for your view size and how big you want it to be on the screen. This button allows you to change, for example, you got multiple images up, which I do. I've got 2. Now they come into this tab set, if you will. One way to break them apart is to drag and just pull it out. I do that sometimes when I need to move one layer into another one. If you want to put them back again, grab up here and drag up until you see that blue line appear. And when you do, you let go, they're back together. But another way to do it more efficiently would be to use this button right here. If you click it, you will see different ways that we can view our images. For example, this one is side by side. Quick way to get what you want. If we come back in and click it, we can go back into consolidate, put them back together again. This button I use a lot, but not a lot of people do. It's called screen modes. Look at the first one, screen mode, standard. That's where we are right now. But watch how it changes when I do this. Now we lose our scrolls, the ability to control the image. It's literally locked onto that screen. Don't forget the tab key. You can't live in this program without the tab key. Press the tab key. Everything goes away and you're looking at the image against a gray background. Now we can take that even one step further by going back to that button again and going into full screen mode. It's going to warn me. It's going to say, look, everything's going to go away, and if you don't know you can get back to it with the tab key, you're in trouble. So we're going to go ahead and press full screen, and there you go. You say, okay, big deal. Why are we here? Well, number one, you don't have to have access to Photoshop to use Photoshop in terms of the tools if you know the shortcuts. For example, I know how to work without ever selecting a tool. I know the shortcuts on how to do that. You say, okay, big deal. What are we doing here, though? What I'm doing here is I'm not doing it to work. I'm doing it to avoid the clutter for my eyes so I can see my image straight up without distraction. There's so many things that distract your brain when you're looking at color. This is one way to really look at an image and look at your composition without being distracted by all the menus. Of course, if we press tab, we go right back in and we can come right back to this button again and go back into standard screen mode. The next one down, this area right here, is basically an area that gives us control of our options for a tool. So every time you change to a different tool, you'll see different options come up here. We'll be using that forever because it's very important to how we work. These buttons back up here at the top are different ways to display our floating palettes. And we'll make more of those, but they're control, right? This button is CS Live, which takes us into things like the review and other things we can do, CS reviews in Adobe Acrobat.com, etc. A way to collaborate live, and that's a really nice one to know you've got. Of course, we have our toolbox over here. Toolbox contains the tools that we use. If you click the double arrow right here, you go into classic mode, the old double bar. The reason I don't like that is you begin to lose room horizontally, and I'd have to move this image over just that much more so I could work on it. I prefer this one, which is newer, but some people still like the double. That's why that's there. However, I would get used to the single bar because I think someday that's going to go away. Over here, of course, on the right, are all our floating palettes, which we'll be using as these lessons continue. These down here will be in most of the time, though. Layers, channels, and paths are what I call Photoshop's big 3. And we'll talk about how they control what you see on an image over here. Finally, let me move this up just a little bit and show you something. These numbers right here. Now let me zoom in a little bit so you can see that. 5.49 meg, 11 meg. What are they? The number on the left represents the single layered flattened size of the file. The number on the right represents its working size, and there's a big difference here. It's twice the size. The reason is because we literally have 2 layers. Now watch what happens when I delete this layer and the sizes go back down to the same. What you want to remember while you're working, Photoshop needs resources like RAM memory, and it needs about 7 to 8 times the size of the file. So if we again make a copy, I'll just drag that down, which now that's 11. A lot of people make the mistake of looking at this number and saying, okay, I need 8 times that number. No, you need 8 times that number. And I've started on images with multiple layers where we start out with 5 meg and wind up with like 300 meg over here. Okay, that's the number you have to multiply by 8 to see if you're running efficiently, not the one on the left. Now, if you click this button, you can do other things. I think the most useless one is the one that's called Current Tool. And it's like, oh, rectangular marquee. I didn't know I was on that tool. Thank you very much. These are valuable, but remember, at least on document sizes, what that means. This is the size, that's the working size. That's the flattened single layer size, and that's an important distinction. Well, that's about it. Just a quick tour around, give you an idea of where things are, and we'll be using this stuff for all these lessons, so it's good to know where we are at any one time. The interface, CS5.